Hello and welcome to podcast of champions, I should say, or is it just Arch and Grandmaster talking Loki? And yes, it's Arch. He's back. I don't know for how long, or for, but let's enjoy it while we can. Arch is back, and of course, I'm going to ask him some questions. And he reached out to me. We wanted to talk some Loki because he has been binging it, and he was very excited, and that's a good thing because Arch. First, I want to talk to you about your absence for the last year or so, I think. Yeah, it's been a year. It's been a year. How come? What was going on? Yeah, you don't have to talk about personal stuff, but I'm talking about your MCU fandom.
Yeah. So in general, I mean, I guess I've had just, in terms of personal stuff, it's mostly just work. I've been a pretty busy guy, honestly. But MCU fandom, I've just been, I guess, what you'd call lukewarm. I don't think anything is terrible, but I haven't been all that excited that much, and mostly in terms of the future, I guess. I haven't, nothing sparked me in the sense of, hey, they're really going somewhere with this. So I don't know what I'm following. I kind of feel like I can kind of catch up whenever I feel like it
Hmm.
and not really lose anything, and that there isn't an immediate ongoing conversation that I'm just so excited to talk about. I've kind of watched a lot of projects and they've been all right, but I haven't been like, man, I got to talk about this. And I guess that's how I feel about most of them right now. They're all right, they're fine. Just not a lot of meat to chew on there, I guess, if you want to say that.
Yeah, besides your personal life getting in the way, as I understand it, but it's also a little bit like, I wouldn't call it MCU fatigue, but it's like there was that excitement from Endgame, and then it kind of fell flat. Can I say it like that?
I think so. I don't know how to describe it because I don't know their interior motivations. I don't get the sense right now that they really know where they're going, and I mean, I know there's some level of plans, but it just doesn't seem to have the same impact. Like, we're going somewhere. You must be on board for this ride to get to this point. It doesn't really feel like that. It all feels a little scattershot, I guess,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah,
okay. It's fine.
yeah. Uh, that's what I've been saying on the podcast last time. I say, look, most of it is more. There are more hits than misses. But there have been some misses. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, She-Hulk wasn't the greatest. Secret Invasion wasn't the greatest. There are some movies that, well, if even if you enjoyed them personally, that had some, let's just say, lukewarm reception. So yeah, I understand it. There's no sense of urgency at the moment in the MCU for you as well.
Right.
You don't need to rush out and go see the Marvels.
I didn't. Although I did see that last night, by the way, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, yeah, okay, that, absolutely. But then there was Loki season two, and then all of a sudden that changed a little bit, or not, or is it just that it was just an exciting project, but you still don't know where they're going. Although I don't think you can feel that way after seeing Loki season two.
I I think Loki, not in the sense of where they're going with it, but I think that was the best they went somewhere with this thing they might have ever done. It's close. It's really up there. I mean, obviously, getting to Infinity War and Endgame was a culmination statement, but where they took Loki and where they left him, and the culmination of that arc, especially since we were all talking about the idea that we didn't even know the show needed to exist or what they were even doing with this show, and for them to take this to, I don't know, just to the end they took this character, I thought was amazing. It ended with a perfect comic book splash page shot
Hmm.
and just an ideal, in a way I never even thought of that they would ever get. I thought they were going to wind this character back up into the MCU and we'd have Happy Fun Loki back or something like that in the main MCU, and where they took this and the important stature they left him on was just, it was art, man. That was great. I was giddy watching that. It was amazing.
Yeah. So Loki, I know when we first talked, or in the beginning of our podcast show, or whatever you want to call it, we did what kind of what when we talked about Loki, we both said, yeah, I don't know why they're making it. I don't need it. He had his arc. It was perfect in Infinity War. He passed away, and then they had that. No, I wouldn't call it cheap cop out in Endgame where they can save the character for another day, but yeah, we didn't need the show, and then we got the show, and now it's, well, I'm on board with you. I think it's the best Marvel Studios has ever done, because that arc, that character arc, that ending of season 2 Loki was absolutely amazing. The and the callbacks to his whole to previous outings of Loki and everything, it was just perfect. It all added up, and I absolutely loved it. Besides the end shot and stuff like that, how did you enjoy the show as a whole? Season 1, season 2, so together, and season 2 specifically. We got some different characters in season 2. OB comes to mind, and Jonathan Majors putting out several performances in that season, which stand out to me at least. How do you feel about those?
The show as a whole, I think you almost have to discuss this show from like the ending and then work backwards. Like the show as a whole left this character in an amazing spot, in the sense that it took him from, it left him at deserving the chair. That's kind of like the whole thing. It started off with the claim that this is a selfish character who wants to be in control, who wants to sit in the chair, and he wants to do it for his own gain. It took him through a level of humility that he genuinely wanted. Like he wanted to do things for the right reasons. He wanted to abandon his selfish nature, and in the end, he realized that the only way to solve this was to take the chair, but that leadership wasn't something he deserved or he was owed as like a favor to him. Like it was like in a selfish way. It was
It
something.
was a sacrifice.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's a sacrifice. He realized that leadership was a sacrifice that he had to make, and that's why he earned the chair. And that is just it. That was a mind-blowing sort of. They really, really, really earned that for this character, and I thought it was insanely good. Just unbelievable as a show.
Yeah, yeah. It's right up there. It's right up there. You can't deny it's so great. Well, I rated the show 10 out of 10 in our review, because I said it was because I couldn't give it an 11 because there was not enough pie. Well, sorry. Sometimes I like to repeat my jokes, but anyway. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely perfect. Are you on the same number, or is it, or you don't do tens? Oh, you don't. No, you don't do ratings, huh?
Yeah, of course. But on my post on Sakar, I rated it infinite Lokis. So I'll give it that, man. There's a number of reasons why it was so good, but the core reason of why. It's so funny because even as the audience, you don't know where they're going necessarily, which is part of the reason I love this show in general. You don't really know what's going to happen from episode to episode. There was the episode where all of a sudden the loom blew up and everybody's incinerated or whatever that was going on there, and you don't know what's going to happen or how they're going to resolve this as an audience member. And for them to have convinced you that he's not going to lead, that the character himself has convinced himself that he's not trying to take this leadership position, and then to have him need to take it and realize that this is the way to solve it is just it's just that is just fantastic character work. It just really is.
Yeah, yeah. And did it also? Well, I wouldn't call it re-spark, but at least give you some enthusiasm for the future of the MCU again. This show, because basically they ended Loki's arc, but they actually really set up the multiverse for the first time in a way that I can say, hey, this is actually good and it makes sense, and I can see now things tying together. I mean, they're making a reference to Quantum Mania, which I actually liked, by the way. Yeah, what do you think?
No, I agree. I was trying to figure out how I thought about it to attach that to it, but yes, they had a lot. Some of the multiverse stuff seems to have been a little bit scattershot at this point, in my opinion. And like you don't really know where stuff's coming from, where it's going, and how it's tying in exactly. Characters will pop in here or there, like Miss America, for instance, which is all fine. Like there's no issue there, but like you're like, what is the structure of this? And to have this establish the kind of ending shot of like the sort of cosmic Yggdrasil, for or whatever you want to call it, as these branching infinite timelines, and then to have the TVA say that they're still following all these Kang variants, it gives the opportunity. Here's what I was worried about. This loops back in, I promise. I was worried that they've already kind of beaten Kang a few times, even in Ant-Man. They've kind of beaten Kang here in a couple of different ways, but it gives that character Kang an opportunity to kind of work from the ground up instead of already being the established de facto leader, to like kind of in a weird way take him back to a base point and see him try to conquer stuff. It's like the one part we haven't seen. We've seen Timely, and you're wondering how he gets to the point of being he who remains. And it gives them the opportunity. I don't know if this is where they're going with it, but it gives them the opportunity to see that connection. How does he build up to that from that, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it also gives you the opportunity. There's now connective tissue established with Loki, connecting multiple timelines, etc. And we got a little bit, and I hope we can talk about it as well a little bit in the Marvels, where you get like. For the first time, a real like connection between the projects we had so far in Phase 4 and 5, and now it slowly starts to feel like Phase 2 all over again, because they're now starting to connect those characters and mixing them together with the end credit scene in the Marvels with Miss Marvel recruiting Kate Bishop, etc. And yeah, with Loki making that Quantum Mania reference, and you get like that. Loki is going to be everywhere. That makes me feel like, hey, the MCU is back on track. Do you agree with that, or you think it's too soon to say that?
I'm not quite there yet, but I see where you're going. I mean, it is cool to see them linking several things. I thought the Marvels was very cool in bringing back Photon. I thought in bringing in Miss Marvel, and the way those characters interacted with each other, I think was great. And the fact that Miss Marvel then went after Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, I thought was cool. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, in that sense, you start to see some links. I don't know how Loki's going to play into this all. It felt very definitive. Like he has positioned himself in this, like in the cosmic web, just holding things together, and that's his station forever. I'm not sure if you're ever going to see him again. I mean, you might, but I don't know. It feels like he has found his station. I mentioned this on the site too.
His glorious purpose, you will say.
Yeah, exactly. His glorious purpose is to be there and hold all of time together, and so that it can branch out in freedom. Which, by the way, we didn't mention. I'll get to that in a second. But I thought there was I mentioned this on the site, but really quickly, and I hope I'll send you a picture. Hopefully, you can post that in here. But Max Murrah mentioned there's another Norse god named Mimir. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. who was placed by Odin in the Tree of Yggdrasil. And the shot of this that I'll send you is very reminiscent of Loki standing there in there. So I thought they did a kind of a like, they do a lot of this where they blend the characters together. And I thought they did a great job of having him there, but I think that's his place. I don't think he's leaving. I mean, you might get some sort of like other variant of Loki or something like that around, but this is this version of this character's place in the cosmos, which I thought was great. The thing I was going to mention that you just reminded me of, non sequitur here, is the idea of freedom. Like they had to. That was a theme of this season. They had to fight for the idea of freedom over like rigorous control. Like which is better? Like what works out? Do you need this rigorous control of like a single timeline, pruning everything else that doesn't fit in, or can you allow freedom to grow without creating chaos? It's an interesting idea. I thought that was another great thing I thought they did with the season, which was pretty meta.
It's actually a theme in society at the moment. So well, let's not open that can of worms, but it's true. Talking about the Marvels, did you enjoy it?
I did. Yes. So yeah, the simple answer is yes. It's pretty action heavy, I think, in a good way. I liked I really enjoyed, and I thought it was unique to have the interplay of them switching and trying to follow that and keep up with it. It's really kind of a movie you need to see a couple times to figure out how that even works, because they keep bouncing around. And I really did. I thought, I wish I knew the actress's name right off, but Miss Marvel,
Iman Vellani.
I think she's great. She does a great job of playing the innocent, starry-eyed, obsessed with Captain Marvel sort of fangirl.
She reminds me of the early Tom Holland, Peter Parker in the MCU. She has exactly the same role. And now, of course, Peter Parker is established, and nobody knows he's Spider-Man anymore, etc. So now he has matured. So now they have this new character that is like the basically what would happen to you or I when we get these powers and are set up in this strange world of heroes and superpowers. She is us in that sense.
No, I agree. And they do that well. Even having her parents in there reacting to, Captain Marvel landing in there, and then Photon landing in there, and then it was fun. It's a fun film. I guess the only thing, like, from a larger perspective, like, this isn't a critique of this particular film, but just as a larger perspective, I just feel like that's kind of the extent of what we've gotten on the film side. Like, whereas I can like discuss Loki and appreciate Loki on this kind of almost philosophical sort of deep thought level. I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that out of really any of the films at this point, and I'm kind of wishing we could get that somewhere along the way. I almost feel like they have fallen into a bit of a comfort zone at this point, where kind of a whimsical fantasy sort of fun action film is what they've got, and I do feel personally that I would like to see a little bit more variety there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, but to be fair, the movies have always been a little bit heavy on the action. The villains, I don't say they have a villain problem, because I think they don't. The villains serve their purpose in each of every project, but they are quite... And there are a few exceptions that stick with you, like Thanos did, or like Loki did, or like Wen Wu did, or there are some great villains in the MCU, but there's also a lot of forgettable, interchangeable villains. If you say, I actually had to look up the name of the villain before we did our review, because I couldn't remember it from the movie when I saw it, and it was the same day. So that says a lot, if you know what I mean. And that the MCU has always been like that. But there have been exceptions like Winter Soldier or something like that, or there always has been in some projects that those kind of questions.
What? So here's what struck me. I guess about Miss Marvel from like the center of the film where they sort of well, they didn't sort of, they literally just sort of, I said sort of again, they literally brushed over the idea that Carol went back and destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, and I found that pretty shocking. That was just a glossed over, not a big deal sort of moment that indeed set up the current status of the Kree. But I'm sitting there. I don't really know where that leaves them. I mean, obviously, it leaves them as sort of a desperate sort of species, almost not dissimilar from the Skrull, where they're trying to preserve their homeland and stuff. But I thought that was an interesting moment to skip. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Carol Danvers, with the best of intentions, no doubt, because she announced it, I'm going to destroy the Supreme Intelligence in the first movie. But she actually did a harmful thing to a complete planet, and there were no questions from the others.
Yeah,
and there was no full of philosophical debate about it. What can you do? If you do more harm than good to take your revenge, or there's an interesting question there, and they didn't explore it, and that's my main critique of a lot of the movies, that sometimes they leave the interesting part alone, and they focus on the heavy action, the Blu-rays, and the jokes, and sometimes that's sad, or how to say, regrettable.
Yeah, I do agree in this sense, because I think there's a lot to explore with the idea of the Supreme Intelligence. Like, we're just in our contemporary society, we it sounds like science fiction a little bit, but bear with me. I mean, we're getting to the point where we have some level of AI. There's a sort of real discussion that could be had about, what if we develop something that could automatically tell us, hey, this is the best course of action that would lead to the most productive version of society, and mandate that if we all follow this, we'll have the highest level of peace, the highest level of education, the highest level of monetary
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a question to be had there about the merits of an AI system like that. We're on the cusp of that, the embryo stages, but the cusp of that as a society. And there's an interesting thing to be had there. So I'm kind of wondering, I would like to see the movie where they explore that.
Yeah, they kind of did that in Terminator, by the way.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Mm.
By the way, funny. It's so funny you mentioned that, because I've just been watching Terminator 2 again like 17 times the past week, because I realized I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's actually a pretty fascinating film. It still holds up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but it was one of my favorite movies in the 90s, uh, by far, by the way.
Yeah.
But we digress. But okay, having seen Loki, having seen the Marvels, I assume you have seen Secret Invasion. Nope. Oh my God. Well, don't. It's horrible. Don't. There's
Is it really that bad?
Yeah, it's truly bad. Truly bad.
I gotta finish. So here's the thing. I watched episode 1, and I mean, I gotta tell you, so it's not the show, dude. I've just been caught up in a lot of stuff. I don't know. Like, I'll watch other things. I don't have, I get home on the weekends. We go to Disney a lot and stuff. I haven't spent as much time on this stuff as I was spending on it.
That's fine.
And
Everybody makes their own choices in life, huh?
it hooked me. By the end of episode 1, it didn't get me like, oh, I must be watching this.
You don't.
I've got in a completely different franchise. I've got Max hounding me to finish watching Ahsoka, and I haven't finished that either. I think I'm on like the next to last episode. I think I got 2 episodes left, but I haven't finished that either.
Ahsoka, yeah, Ahsoka is okay, but yeah, it's not next level. I mean, Andor was, and I would say Loki was also there, and so
Good.
Disney is producing some great stuff for Disney Plus, but they're also producing. I wouldn't call it cookie cutter because I hate that word from the past, but it's more like we produce it so we have content, but there's no thought behind it, no heart behind it. It has no soul, if you know what I mean. And it's too bad. But Secret Invasion is one of those latter shows. It's terrible. So don't watch it. If you don't need to watch it. If that ever changes, I will tell you.
So as somebody who hasn't seen the whole thing, you don't feel like that played into what I just watched at all?
No, not at all. Nothing.
Really? Wow, that's
There,
surprising.
there were scrolls in it. There was Nick Fury in it, and it had nothing to do with the Marvels. Nothing.
It's surprising for such. See, that's what That's the weird part about this now for me. Is it's not. I don't consider. I still don't consider any of it like bad in the sense that of some franchises I can talk about like where this stuff is just stupid, but like.
Arch, I will give you an example. There was a scene in Secret Invasion where Nick Fury's wife. Oh, did I just spoil that for you? Went to a bank, get it to a safety deposit box to get a gun to kill her husband. Yeah. 2 episodes later, she and the Emilia Clarke character are attacked in the house by the Super Skrulls or the Bad Skrulls, and they find they're jackets with bulletproof jackets, backpacks with total guns inside, and machine guns, booby traps all over the place. But she had to go to the safety deposit box to get a gun to kill her husband. It makes totally no sense. It's just an example of how stupid the show is. It means if you have guns laying around everywhere and you know where they are because you're gonna find them while you're being attacked, why you need a gun to kill your husband? Get it from a safety deposit box. It's just to have a.
Wow.
That's the level of stupidity of Secret Invasion. It's really terrible. It's really at the bottom of my list.
It's so weird for such a big name sort of franchise. That was a big name series in comics, and for them to underwhelm it like that is so. That's just bizarre. It's a weird choice.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't call it all bad, but the Super Skrull versus Super Skrull finale. It was
You're all you're all kinds of spoilers right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, whatever. You don't need to watch it, really. You don't need those characters. The best thing about it was Olivia Colman's character, Sonia. She was great in the whole show. But that is the only part I would say that's worth watching.
But right now, you're just reminding me of how weird it is that I'm the one that's not caught up on all this.
Yeah, well. Yeah, it's the way it is. But okay, how does this affect your future? You've seen Loki, you've seen the Marvels. I repeat again. Do you think it will affect your future enjoyment of the future projects, or your excitement, or your urgency, or whatever you want to call it?
That's a good question, dude. I mean. I'm a little bit project to project right now. This Loki makes me realize that they have a lot of potential. Our discussion just a minute ago on the potential for what a supreme intelligence of the Kree, conversation could really be in terms of contemporary society and how we kind of mandate that and what our priorities are and what would be most beneficial. I mean, I think those are all good. I think there's a lot of potential there. It's just based on the string of movies that they've run out somewhat recently. that doesn't have me concerned, but just has me lukewarm. Still, in the sense that I'll show up and I'll watch them eventually, but I'm not. I'm still not have to watch them unless I know that there's definitely something there. I watched all of Loki in 2 days. It was that compelling. It was so. But I'm happy to wait weeks right now to go see Captain Marvel, because I know it's a fun action film, but there's not, it's not going to be critical or anything that's like that I'm thinking about for weeks. I'm like, wow, they really explored something there. Like, I don't think they're really explored something there, but they could. Supreme intelligence is a really deep idea. It really is, and I think they could get back to that. So, well, I don't know. We'll see. There's other films that I don't know. I mean, there's some unfortunate stuff, like the Chadwick Boseman situation is just unfortunate for them. I mean, I think Black Panther had a lot of mileage on it, and I don't know where that's going now. It's unfortunate. It's sad. It really is, in a real humanistic way. But there's other series like that this is their choice. How have we not seen Sam? You established a new Captain America with Sam, and we haven't seen him. And I know he's coming out in Thunderbolts, and I know they've got a new movie with him coming out, but it feels like he should have been around by now. It really does. I really love Shang-Chi as a film. It's up there. It might be my favorite film of the Phase 4, Phase 5 era. It's really good. I think Shang-Chi is really good. But why haven't we seen him? Like, where's he at?
Yeah.
Like, what's he? So I think there's some just weird choices they've made with new characters they've established that feel like they should have a deep footing right now. And I don't know if they know what they're doing, but I mean, they're not doing anything bad. All of it's all right. I'll eventually, but I'm just wondering why some of this hasn't taken a large foothold. I want it to be addictive, and they haven't made it addictive yet.
Okay, so you're not there yet, but it could happen if they pick up their game. Well, I have some good news for you. Next year we only get one movie, Deadpool 3. The rest has been postponed. So I'm hoping they're thinking about quality and taking their time. Of course, they had the writer strike and the actor strike, so they are also forced to postpone things. But I like to think that Bob Iger, when he took back control of Disney, said, "Hey, listen, guys." Marvel is our flagship, and we need to make sure that our flagship is the best there is, and we need to ensure the quality of it. And I'm hoping they are doing this in the coming months. Yeah, did you see the Echo trailer?
The Deadpool trailer?
They given a trailer for Echo. They're dropping it.
I haven't seen it yet, actually. No, I'm sorry, I haven't.
Oh, well, actually, the crew was quite excited after seeing the trailer. It reminded a lot of them of the Netflix shows, which were great in general. Especially the first seasons of those shows were usually great. Maybe not Iron Fist, but they had a strong second season. But anyway, it reminded a lot of people of the Daredevil show. So we have high hopes that when they drop all episodes at once, 5 episodes of them, it's still very good. So in January. So there's still some stuff to look forward to, but let's hope it's good.
I'll go watch the trailer immediately. I'm glad you let me know. This is how little attention I've been paying on a day-to-day basis, but I'll go watch that right away. Seriously, the moment we get done with this, I'm going to watch it.
And Arch is also not keeping up with our podcasts and shows because we have discussed this trailer. Actually, it was in one of our shows, so he needs to do his homework. Well, guys, you see it. Arch is still interested. Is not as excited anymore as he used to be, but he's still very much interested in the MCU and what's going on. It just takes his time.
I would get back in, and I will get back in a second. I still pay attention to it a lot. It's just, it's just like, by the way, I'm on the site all the time, probably on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Day or two, I'm not on there, but I check out posts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on there. I do keep up with the podcasts, although maybe not the moment they drop, but I'm out there, guys. I'm glad you guys keep up. I am. I think it's cool as hell every time I see like a new one fall out that you guys get in there and talk about this stuff, and I think it's cool. So I think you guys are awesome. I really do.
Yeah, I speak on behalf of the panel, and they don't even know I'm speaking to you, but I'm speaking on behalf of the panel. We miss you, and we would love it if you join, get back on the shows with us. That would be so great, because we always love your input.
I really should. I really should. And maybe I'll do my little lake view out here from now on or something.
Oh well, that's great. That's great. But yeah, the well, people, you heard it. It was great catching up with Arch in the last half hour, and we know now what he thought of Loki, what he thought of the Marvels, what he thought of the MCU in general, what he's been up to, and well, we hope to see more of him in the future. But we leave that, of course, up to him. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. But we will. Well, there's hoping. We hope you have enjoyed our little talk here. Grandmaster talking to Arch for a change instead of the other way around. And well, we'll see you in the future. You know there's a project coming. We dropped a teaser for that, but that's all happening in 2024. People will talk. I will talk about that in a few weeks. When December hits, I'm gonna announce what we're gonna do exactly, and then you will enjoy a series that will last for probably 5 years. So, yeah, big plans. Okay, people, enough talking from me. Have a nice evening, have a nice day, whatever, whenever you see this, and we'll talk again on the podcast or Review of Champions. Bye.